This is KTVO's Good Morning Heartland.
Welcome back. This morning I'm going under the needle, an acupuncture needle that is. It's been around for thousands of years, and for many of us, even though we've heard about it, the thought of being poked by tiny little needles doesn't sound too appealing. So this morning we have Dr. Jay Danto to tell us more about acupuncture and the health benefits behind it. So how are you doing today?
Good morning. I'm doing very well. Good morning, Heartland. So I'm doing very well.
Good. So first of all, tell us, what is acupuncture?
Acupuncture is over 2,000-year-old practice developed in China that using needles to adjust the flow of what they call qi through the body. There's other more modern medical concepts as how acupuncture works. They think that it makes the body turn on its a healing system by putting a foreign body in the body. But the thing is, if the foreign body which is a very sterile needle, actually is removed after about 15 minutes during a normal acupuncture treatment, and the body responds to it. But the concept of the Chinese concept of moving the energy is very relevant to today, and it actually still applies. So there's a new concept, an old concept. The thing is they both work. So.
Okay, so now what does acupuncture treat? I hear for different things, so kind of just go through those really quickly. Like what do people go get acupuncture for?
You know, it's interesting. People get acupuncture in our clinic at the Max Gunson Clinic, OMM Clinic. We do manipulation, we do acupuncture, and we see a lot of pain patients for everything from headaches to dysmenorrhea, which is menstrual pain, and then there's back pain, and neck pain, and leg pain, and Achilles tendonitis, and knee pain, and so there's all these different pain syndromes that acupuncture has developed a really nice niche for. And the neat thing is that it really fits well with osteopathic manipulative medicine, which is another thing that I specialize in, and we do at the Gunson Clinic. So.
All right, so obviously acupuncture deals with needles, but these are very fine needles. So kind of explain what kind of needles these are and how they're used.
Well, the needles I like to use actually, they come all the way from Japan. There's a whole bunch of different types of needles that are out there for acupuncture. Most of them are developed in China and the West and the Orient. And then the needles that we use, they're sterile needles. They're rounded, so they're actually like a dissecting needle. They actually, instead of cutting the tissue, they actually dissect between the cells, so they don't actually cause that much damage. But the body interprets it as a damage. They're really small. I could fit about 3 or 4 of them into the hole that we use to actually draw blood in like a regular needle.
So they're very delicate, is what you're trying to say.
They're hair thin.
Okay, so now I know that when you do acupuncture, because I've had it done before, there's different parts of your body that trigger different signals for your pain. So if you have back pain, you're not necessarily going to get all your needles pricked in your back. It's actually in different areas. So what about your hand? Like, what does this trigger? Because I know that I've gotten some on my hand before.
Well, the area you're pointing to is the thumb mound, and some people have heard of it. If you squeeze this area, people do it to treat headaches. And my daughter's one of the first people to sit there in class, and somebody says, "Oh, I have a headache." So let me work on that for you. And she'll massage that point out, and it's a very powerful point. It's one of the most powerful upper body points. But there's points, like you said, all over the body. And they're part of channels that run through the whole body. I always tell people they're like subways that go through the whole body, and the points where you put the needles are like subway stops where you can adjust the flow of the energy. So that's.
So do you want to just go ahead and put one in my hand to kind of just show to the Heartland that these are, in fact, they don't hurt, and blood's not going to come spewing out or anything like that. So does it matter which hand you put it on?
It doesn't matter which hand.
Okay, so say I come in and say, I have a really bad headache, it won't go away. I drink lots of water, I've been sleeping, but I just feel like my headache's not going away. So what are you going to do?
I'm going to examine you. I'm a doctor, so I examine people. I get their history.
Right.
I do a pulse diagnosis. It's been something I've been doing for over 20 years. Before I even learned acupuncture, one of my friends showed me how to diagnose pulses, and so I kind of worked on that and now I'm quite proficient, and I can do something, I can do a pulse diagnosis in a lot less time than most people. So
Okay.
I would take your pulse, and there's actually 3 points on the wrist, on each wrist, and there's a superficial and a deep, and there's 12 main meridians of the body. So I would look at those, different pulses, and I'd say, oh, well, if their history matches their pulses, because in Chinese medicine, they're really good at history taking as well as regular medicine, then it makes it real easy for me, because I really like to combine what I do as far as osteopathic manipulation and the acupuncture. But if I was saying, okay, there's the thumb point, it actually translates to large intestine 4, which is, there's a fancy Chinese name which translates into thumb mound. So you actually look at the thumb, you create a mound by squeezing the finger together, and this meaty part here, you just sit there and you relax it now, just relax, and you find the point, and you just pressure on this, what we call the introducer, and just tap it in.
And that's it?
That is it.
So I have it in my hand right now. How long do you usually keep these needles in? So obviously, when you go and get this type of treatment, you're not really sitting, you're more laying down, relaxing, correct?
Right.
All right. And so how long do you usually keep these points in you?
The needles are in for about 15 minutes. A lot of times I put a mylar sheet over people, so it's a really light sheet. Keeps them warm. It actually heats up the needles a little bit, and the needles are metal, so when you heat up a needle, it actually transmits electrons a little bit better, so that might actually contribute to the treatment.
All right, and my final question really quickly, is acupuncture for anybody? Are there certain type of people that can't get acupuncture? Like, do you have to be a certain age or anything like that?
The youngest patient I've acupunctured was actually my daughter. She had something called a really bad sore throat. It's a herp angina. She went to the doctor. I came home. My wife was upset because my daughter had not been able to eat.
Right.
And they were thinking, well, if she doesn't eat at all, then she's going to have to go to the hospital and get an IV. And so we went ahead and checked her out, and I put a needle in the throat point in the ear.
Oh wow. Okay.
And she instantly stopped crying, and she started eating, and she was fine the rest of the day. And she had been crying for 4 hours straight. So that's about, she was 2 months old.
Oh wow.
So it's she was very young. And,
so it's very beneficial. So, and again, obviously you screen your patients too. So if they have any questions or anything like that, you guys can obviously get to the bottom of it.
I mean, my goal isn't to do a lot of 2-month-olds, but this is the youngest, and but we do, from very young to very old, and I don't. The needles aren't the first thing I look towards treating people with, because I always look towards manipulation and osteopathic medicine first, and always trying to put that in the grand scope of everything we do as osteopathic physicians.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Danto. I'm going to let you take that out. Thank you so much. And what we'll do is we'll post everything on our website at heartlandconnection.com, and we'll link up Dr. Danto's information as well if you have any questions or concerns about acupuncture, and we'll be right back.
Thanks.